going to preview the 1 seed Virginia Tech versus the 3 seed LSU. Now I'm going to tell you one thing right now. LSU is not a great 3-point shooting team. And yes, they're currently favored by 1 point. But it's so small. I mean, and at this stage, really who's favored or not doesn't really matter. Well, what are some players to keep an eye on for LSU? Angel Reese, obviously, 23.2 points per game, 15.7 rebounds per game, 2.2 assists per game, 2.3 turnovers per game, 1.6 blocks per game, 1.8 steals per game, 2.5 fouls per game, 70.8% from the free throw line, and 1 for 6 on threes, which is 16.27%. So don't worry about her shooting threes, but maybe jumps, like 15-foot jump shots. So, but, you know, you have to see on the film to make sure. Alexis Morris is obviously the next player to keep an eye on. Yeah, I recognize that name. No, I mean, one, I actually saw her play at Baylor in person that 1 year that she really played, but she was allegedly kicked off the team for something off the court. But that's besides the point. She was at Rutgers for 1 year, then A&M for 1 year, and then LSU for 2 years. So her eligibility is done. No matter what. 14.9 points per game, 4.1 assists per game, 2.9 rebounds per game, 2.5 turnovers per game, 1.9 steals per game, 2 fouls per game, 77.6% from the free throw line, 33.6% from the 3-point line. So yeah, she's their best, one of the better shooters. Of course, Flau'jae Johnson, 11.1 points per game, 5.9 rebounds per game, 2.3 assists per game. I mean, not assists per game, fouls per game. 1.1 steals per game, 0.8 blocks per game, 2.3 turnovers per game, 69.2% from the free throw line, 33.7% from the 3-point line. LaDazia Williams is the next player to keep an eye on. She was at South Carolina for 2 years and 2 years at Missouri, and then she's at LSU now. 9.4 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, 1.1 steals per game, 0.9 blocks per game, 1.1 turnovers per game, 3 fouls per game though. 49.1% from the free throw line, but that's on 57 attempts. And the crazy thing is, last year she was 74.1% from the free throw line on 58 attempts. So, we'll have to wait and see. Jasmine Carson is another player to keep an eye on. 8.6 points per game, 2.3 rebounds per game. She was at West Virginia, actually, for 2 years. Prior to that, Georgia Tech. 1.1 steals per game, 1.4 blocks per game, 0.9 fouls per game, 1.4 turnovers per game, 1.1 steals per game, 75.9% from the free throw line, 33.3% from the 3-point line on 171 attempts. So, Samaya Smith is the next player keeping 4.8 points per game, 4.2 rebounds per game, 1.1 blocks per game, 0.6 turnovers per game, 1.1 fouls per game, 56.5% from the free throw line on 62 attempts, and 1 for 1 on threes. Don't expect her to shoot threes. That's my deal. Katari Poole is the next player to keep an eye on. 4.5 points per game, 2.4 rebounds per game, 2.4 assists per game, 1.8 turnovers per game, 1.5 steals per game. She was at Ohio State the last 2 years prior to this year. 34 for 51 on free throws, 43.1% from the 3-point line on 58 attempts, so 25 makes. So she's definitely the best shooter in terms of percentage. That shoots it consistently, or somewhat. After that, it's just like 3 players with 33.3% or a little bit better than that. And last player to keep an eye on is last tier Poa. Yeah, that's her first name, I know. I'm not going to make fun of it at all. 3.4 points per game, 0.6 steals per game, 1 turnover per game, 1.3 fouls per game, 87.9% from the free throw line, 8 for 28 on threes, 28.6% basically. So yeah, that's just naming some players right there. And Virginia Tech does have some players to keep an eye on too. I mean, first of all, Elizabeth Kitley. She's that best player in terms of points per game here. 18.2 points per game, 10.7 rebounds per game, 0.6 steals per game, 2.3 blocks per game, 2.2 turnovers per game. .3 fouls per game, 72% from the free throw line, 1 for 5 on threes. So don't expect her to shoot threes, but she will hit jump shots. Georgia Amore is the next player keeping 16.3 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, 5 assists per game, 2.8 turnovers per game, 0.7 steals per game, 1.9 fouls per game, 78.9% from the free throw line, 34.9% from the 3-point line on 327 attempts. Taylor Stoll is the next player keeping on 11.1 points per game, 5.7 rebounds per game, 1.1 steals per game, 1.9 turnovers per game, 3 fouls per game, 72.1% from the free throw line, and 6 for 25 on threes. Kiana Traylor is the next player to keep it on, 10.8 points per game, 3.3 rebounds per game, 2.9 assists per game, 1 steal per game, 2.1 turnovers per game, 1.9 fouls per game, 37 for 112 on threes, which is 33%, and 78.8% from the free throw line. Kayla King is the next player keeping on 8.1 points per game, 3.2 rebounds per game, 0.8 steals per game, 0.7 turnovers per game, 3 fouls per game, 76.5% from the free throw line on 51 attempts, and 37.3% from the 3-point line on 204 attempts. And the last player to keep it on is Deasia Gregg, 4.9 points per game. The only reason why I'm not mentioning a player above her is because she's not played since December. .1 turnovers per game, 2 fouls per game, 78.8% from the free throw line, and 36.1% from the 3-point line on 61 attempts. So basically, for both teams, you gotta limit your foul trouble as much as possible, especially to your best players. I mean, you gotta take care of the ball. I mean, you gotta get some good shot selection. Of course, you want to get to the free throw line and make them count. I mean, of course, while at the same time you're going to limit those as attempts as well. I would say, like, you gotta limit your point, like the opposition's points in the paint, fast break points, transition, points on turnovers, especially second chance points. Of course, you want to get those as well. So on the offensive side, of course, you gotta make adjustments on the fly, and you gotta get on your shooters and get on your slashers. But I think in this game, Virginia Tech does have the height, not like a huge height advantage, but a little more height than LSU does, a little bit. And they can match them up, and they got 3-point shooters, as you could tell, for Virginia Tech. I mean, yeah, though LSU does have that too, but the deal about LSU is they don't shoot a lot of threes. They really don't. They're more like give it to Angel Reese or penetrate the paint type of team. Or even if they shoot them, they miss them a lot. I mean, the majority of the time. So, and this is the first Final Four for Virginia Tech in history, and it explains this year has been a special year for them, and of course for LSU it's the first Final Four under Kim Mulkey and the first one since 2008. So yeah, they've been down for a long time. I mean, 2 years ago they were not that good. I mean, just saying about that. So It's going to be one of those intriguing battles here. You got to come out with energy. You just got to settle into the game and make adjustments on the fly, both offensively and defensively. And if I was Virginia Tech, I would go zone against LSU. Make them shoot it from 3. If they knock them down, they knock them down. But that way you kind of contain their paint. I mean, that's just my advice for Virginia Tech. But we'll have to wait and see what happens here. And I expect this game to be close. Either way. I don't see a runaway here. I don't. Anyways, if you like this content, hit like and subscribe. See you guys later. 5 subscribers. We're on the road to it. Let's go. And this game will be taking place at 6 p.m. on Friday on either ESPN, ESPNU, or ESPN Plus. So, that's all.